Bulkowski.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Mast.
Yes.
Breeby.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yeah, yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Stack.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bolter. Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Bonk.
Yes.
Chair Salfeld.
Yes. Motion passes. We move to the resolutions, which are agenda item number 8. And for the first one, I will call on Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you, Chair Salfeld. I would move Resolution 72618-52. It's the 2018 Senior Millage Fund Budget Amendment, a good amendment, and from the Administrator's Office.
Is there support? Support by Commissioner Antor. Any questions or comments on this item? I do not see any. This is roll call vote. I'll call on Madam Clerk.
Thank you. On the motion to adopt Resolution 7261852, Commissioner Skaggs, Commissioner Korndike.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Bulkowski.
Abstain due to my conflict of interest.
Talon.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Mast.
Yes.
Breeby.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Steck.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Commissioners Jones.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Vonk.
Yes.
Chair Salfeld.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 1 abstention, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 7261852 is adopted.
Thank you.
For PFAS funding for 2017 from the Health Department.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Korndike. Questions or comments on this item?
Chair, real quickly.
Commissioner Antor.
Thank you. Just had a question for IT. I'll address them with about the software costs, and I'll address that with them privately.
Okay. Any other questions? I see none. This is a roll call vote. I'll call on Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 7261853, Commissioners Skaggs, Korndike.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Bulkowski.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Mast.
Yes.
Breeby.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Steck.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Commissioners Jones.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Vonk.
Yes.
Chair Salfeld.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 7261853 is adopted.
Thank you. We move to Resolution 8C, and I call on Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Salfeld. I move Resolution 54 of this date, 7/26/18, the amendment to Section 701 of the Kent County Animal Control Regulations.
Support by Commissioner Breedy. Questions or comments on this item? I do not see any. This is not a roll call vote, so all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We move to Resolution 8D, and I call on Commissioner Mast.
Thank you, Chair. I move Resolution 55, which is the designation of CDBG monies. I move that resolution.
Support by Commissioner Breedy. Questions or comments on this resolution? Commissioner Korndike.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to disclose that I'm a voluntary board member on the Fair Housing Center of West Michigan.
Will you
I'll
be
still be supporting this.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay. I see none, so this is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. On the motion to adopt Resolution 7261855, Commissioners Skaggs, Korndike.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Bulkowski.
Abstain.
10 minutes.
Talon.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Mast.
Yes.
Breeby.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Steck.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Commissioners Jones.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Vonk.
Yes.
Chair Salfeld.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. The motion passes. Resolution 726-1855 is adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 8E, I will call on Commissioner Mast.
Thank you. I move that resolution, which is accepting some money from the state for purchase of some additional parkland. I move resolution 56.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Jones. Questions or comments on this item? I do not see any. This is a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 726-1856, Commissioners Skaggs, Korndike,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Bulkowski,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Mast,
Yes.
Breeby,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Steck,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Commissioners Jones,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Antor,
Yes.
Vonk,
Yes.
Chair Salfeld.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 726-1856 is adopted.
Thank you. We move to agenda item number 9, which is public comment. This is a 1-minute public comment. Is there any public comment? I do not see any, so we will move to agenda item 10, which is reports. Are there any reports today? I am not seeing any. Commissioner Talon.
Just mentioned, the VDA didn't meet last month, so no report.
Okay. Commissioner Bulkowski.
Thank you, Chair. Just to report, the Friend of the Court Advisory Committee did meet, and we continue to monitor the results of the Community Task Force. I continue to advocate on Commissioner Voorhees' idea of Friend of the Family to help folks navigate that system. Good things are happening. The Responsible Parenting Program is up and running. Again, the main thing is growing the partnerships with workforce development organizations in town to help parents learn their responsibilities of supporting their children, and then being able to find income and make that happen. So good things happening at the front of the court, but we continue to monitor that. We've asked for more data, and so in a couple months my report will be longer. Thank you.
Commissioner Stack.
Thank you, Chair. Just a brief report on the developments at the Lakeshore Regional Entity. The negotiations with the folks at Beacon Health Services continue. We've had several sessions. We met again yesterday, and we'll meet again next week with them on a face-to-face to iron out the terms of the contract with them. We are optimistic that it is going very well, and that we're going to end up with a partnership with them that will be very supportive of what we want to accomplish here with our behavioral health system. We'll know more by the end of next week what the more specific terms of that contract will look like. But we're very optimistic. In the meantime, we have continued to have the conversations with the state. We again talked to them yesterday. Those conversations are supportive of this direction. They have been brought up to speed on the current performance of the 2018 fiscal year, and still no concerns, no worries, so we're pressing ahead with their full support.
Thank you. Commissioner Korndike.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to report that the June over June numbers at our airport show a passenger activity increase of 17.49%, and year-to-date at 14.98%. The industry average right now is a little under 5.5%, so we are 3 times better than what the airports across the country are doing, so that shows that things are going very well at the airport right now. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other reports? I did not. Oh, Commissioner Womack.
Being the Kent County Commissioner of the 17th District of the City of Grand Rapids, I have to report that the City of Grand Rapids is the first city in Kent County to opt into the medical marijuana provision centers, grow, and transport. We may be capturing up to 30% taxes off of the marijuana industry coming to Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I wanted to definitely get a chance to see how we plan, some paperwork on how we plan to spend that tax money or exactly where it's going. So I just wanted to update that Grand Rapids is the first city in Kent County to opt in.
Thank you. Any other reports? I do not see any, so we'll move to agenda item 11, which is miscellaneous. Any miscellaneous? Commissioner Breedy.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to highlight a couple events that are coming to town, brought to you by the West Michigan Sports Commission. The first is August 4 and 5. It's a softball competition, and it's called the Border Battle. So many softball teams from the U.S. and Canada will be participating in it. That's at the Art Van Sports Complex. And then the next item is the Tommy's Wake Surf Open, and that's August 10 to 12 at Millennium Park. And if you're interested in using some of your extra time, they could use some volunteers there to help run the beer garden.
Thank you. Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. A couple things. I had the wonderful opportunity to attend the Disability Advocates celebration party. I don't know quite exactly what it was, called at the Kentwood Library on Monday. It was quite, I had not done before, who we maybe don't normally watch or take notice of, entertain and be entertained, and some had a chance to sell some of the things that they were making. Of course, I bought one from everybody, and it was just really a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. My hat's off to you, Commissioner Bulkowski. Teresa from the Health Department was a wonderful advocate. I had a situation that came up with a church program in the Kentwood area, and I certainly didn't know what to do with it, and I called our Health Department. Teresa was right on it, and I got a very satisfactory response from the person back. I was very, very grateful. It wasn't how they wanted it to work out, but they've been listened to, and they were very, very grateful, so thank you. And there is no way that I can sit here and not weigh in on all that has taken place this morning. I'll be honest, while I do not appreciate name-calling, it's not something we allow at my house ever. You may laugh, but you will never be called a name at my house, I promise you that. I don't allow it for my kids, I don't allow it for me, and certainly I have let their teachers know that if they ever hear any of my children, and we've had several exchange students, and we've been legal guardians and mentors, we don't allow it. Having said that, I think that this, commissioners, at hand is a very necessary area for us to look way further into. Deep dive, not just my blood children. We've had 7 other kids come through our house, and they tried to take them from me. Until they knocked me out or shot me, they would not get a hold of my children. So I do understand. I do hear what you are saying. I do not have that fear. You're right, I don't. I don't live with that fear at all. I can't imagine it, but I do have persons in Kentwood who do have that fear. Kentwood is the most diverse school in the state of Michigan. 70 countries, 60 languages represented. I'm very aware. I admire Commissioner Womack for his stand and what he did today, very much so. I feel more comfortable because of all the things that are taking place. It's not just signing. My commitment is there, and so I, please, Chair and Wayman, I would like, please, for either a committee to be put together, of which I would be happy to head, a group meet with you at a time when we can talk together well, that we can talk together without using harsh language, that we can talk together without accusatory statements, and I will make a commitment to ICE. I have great respect for our sheriffs. You can say what you want. I think there are many more things to what we are seeing and reading than what I know, and perhaps even what you know. I know that doesn't seem right. But it is something that I feel very, very very passionate about and very strong, that I would like for this Kent County Commission Board to look very seriously at this, because I tell you what, again, I come back to, you're not getting my kids ever from me unless you knock me over the head or you shoot me. I get it.
Okay, Vice Chair Bolter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that I was in the ladies' room during the consent agenda, and I would vote aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. You know, the trauma that's being inflicted on families in our community is real. I have no doubt about that. I've heard about it repeatedly, and I share many of the concerns that we heard this morning from members of our community. I don't necessarily, it's a complex question. How do we address federal policies that have such a traumatic impact on our community, on the citizens, on our community, which it's those people that we're here to represent, to serve. And yet we have this federal policy that's such a negative impact on our families. And you know, I hear some of the suggestions for a solution that this commission have a conversation of some sort, and I don't know what that looks like, if it's a work session or a group such as the Friend of the Court group, to talk about the issues, to look at what our options are to address those. Look at some of the suggestions that have been brought, have some of those conversations. I think it's an important thing for us to do. It's part of our mission that we have right here in front of us, and I would respectfully ask that we consider how we might do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vonk.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Monday night I was invited to the Lakeshore Township Board meeting, and Commissioner Andrew was in attendance as well, and we talked about some recycling issues and better partnership in the future, and had a good conversation with those folks. So that's nothing we can do on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I want to start off by thanking the protesters for working with us to have this mission. Also, I'm asking that we have some special order work session or meeting, because even us commissioners haven't had a chance to sit down amongst each other and see where we stand as a whole, or officially what we can or can't do. A lot of things have been said to the media, but we haven't even had a chance to sit down and talk about it. Also, the leadership of the protest has asked for to at least see us on record on where we stand, so I don't think that's too much to ask. Some of my commissioners refuse to sign that, and that's fine, because I know we stand on different sides of the issues, but for the ones who stand on the issue and really understand that tearing a baby from a mother's bosom, and this is on TV, and 1 month old's going to court, that we need to be talking to our Sheriff Department administration and not the deputies, because I don't even like the fact how this decision for us working with ICE, we've allowed $18,000 to bring millions of dollars of damage when it comes to public reputation for our deputies who are simply just doing their job. But we're the ones put them in that position for $18,000. But when I see some of my commissioners who understand but nobody wants to sign, it takes me back to my study of American history. When our forefathers signed the Declarations of Independence, it was a bounty put on their head. They were going to be murdered immediately by Great Britain. Murdered immediately for signing the greatest Declaration of Independence, one of the greatest literatures on earth that still stands to this day. Something we all go back to, even in the argument today. We're talking about our rights. And this country was born on people who just had a dream, that didn't believe taxation without representation, that didn't believe that the laws from Great Britain, they should be abiding. Now we come today and only one commissioner will sign that, even though everybody says it means nothing. It means something. It means something. And like I said, I'm not calling out the commissioners who feel totally different. That's what politics is about. We are always going to find ourselves on different sides of the board. But us that say we support this, we can't be cowards at this time, and I'm going to hurry up because I know we've been here a long time. If we all took IQ tests, none of us would get every question right. I love politics, I love Grand Rapids, but I got every question right, I wouldn't be here. As a whole, we're on the wrong side. Today, the Kent County Land Bank, we bashed them for their original mission statement.
I agree.
We bashed them. Because on one side, we got the land bank, who is not perfect. Like I said, I'm a supporter and one of his biggest critics. But on the other side, not only do we have private real estate developers, but we're not talking about the little guy and the little woman who buys 1 or 2 houses for income that really becomes a job being a landlord, putting up with other people's mess. We're taking up for those big developers that can come and put money behind people running for House of Representatives that are mad at the land bank. But when it comes to the Sheriff Department's original mission statement, where is it that the original mission statement for the Sheriff Department, and I'm not talking about the deputies or anybody that's just doing their job, but I'm talking about with this decision with ICE, where's our original mission statement that we will collaborate with an organization that's kidnapping children, that's going against human rights, that's going against the Geneva Convention? Where is that in the original mission statement, and why aren't they held to the same level of scrutiny that we did the land bank? Because there's no money for us to get out of agreeing that these babies being ripped out is wrong. And I do not put down anybody that supports ICE, because I understand that this commission, some of the commissioners that disagree with me, they understand ICE does a whole lot more than just rip babies out of people's arms. Jim said, and Bessie Melton said, we do need to have a work session on this, or it's going to continue to get completely out of hand, and it'll be our fault.
Commissioner Antor. Antor.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Real quickly to Commissioner Womack's point, I don't think our sheriff is doing this for the money. I know he isn't. We have a history in this county and in the state law enforcement where police departments work with each other. It's a professional courtesy sometimes. When one jail may be full, we send people to another jail. It's a courtesy, and I can't speak for sheriff, but all law enforcement works together, whether it's FBI, local, state. They do this all the time, and I know he's not doing it for the money. I know I'm a believer in the rule of law and our nation's sovereignty, and that's what's important to me. We can have these discussions, and we are going to continue to have these discussions, but I completely support our sheriff and deputies. Thank you very much, guys, for being here. Also, I'd like to just do a real quick shout out to our health department and our DPW. They've been really great. Steve Kelso's been helping me a lot. I'm on the phone with the PFAS issues. Adam London, and he's been very helpful. This continues to be a problem where the numbers keep changing, and I just so appreciate their work. I think they're overworked right now. I know they are. A little bit understaffed yet and overworked, and I'm glad the state recognized that in the form of some money to pick up some of those costs. So very appreciate to all those people for their help as we continue to go down.
Is the actual 28th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. In spite of it passing with extreme bipartisan support, it took a decade for it to get passed, so there was a lot of struggles. I won't pass those on at this moment, but thank you for that piece as we work for justice, inclusion, and welcoming of folks with disabilities in our community. Second, following up on some of the stuff that the Land Bank presentation brought to mind, I thought it was in one of the chair's priorities this year to look at affordable housing as the county. I know the continuum of care has had some issues brought to its attention about how well they're looking at affordable housing throughout the county. So I don't know if there's a report that can come to us as commissioners so we can see that and potentially be part of that dialogue. I know having to be part of a meeting on Monday where some things are moving forward, and I do believe there's a role for us in there. Third item, speaking of the medical marijuana thing in my city of residence, Grand Rapids, My question is there something in this for the health department to be aware of, especially, and as a county, unfortunately the state said every jurisdiction can do what they want. I happen to live in a border neighborhood. My backyard touches East Grand Rapids. They allow me to do that. But, you know, I don't know how many people are going to come from East Grand Rapids, Cascade, Ada, because my assumption is those communities will opt out, and everybody's going to come into Easttown, and Easttown's going to be medical marijuana haven. I supported medical marijuana. I supported decriminalization. I think our country's prohibition on marijuana has done nothing but destroy lives and enrich criminals, but that's a whole other conversation. But what is the county's role on medical marijuana? And at least to look at it, if we say, hey, there's nothing we can do, we need to be very conservative on our approach with medical marijuana, because some people wanted to open the floodgates and let everybody do whatever they wanted. But that's a different story. The reality is that email just doesn't come from Dave Bulkowski, Easttown resident. They know I'm a county commissioner. I have a long-standing relationship with these folks. They trust my opinion to some level, at least to hear me out. Which pivots me to the final point, which is to thank the folks for coming out today to talk about this, our relationship with ICE and what's really happening. That we can say, hey, you know, we're just a county, this is a federal issue, leave us alone. But, you know, we're sending letters, we're seeing our Congress people at meetings, we're seeing our senator. One of our senator staff persons was here today, our federal senator, that is. They do listen to us, and at the very least, it is worth us to speak when we have to speak on these issues. I thank Commissioner Womack for his signature on there and that statement. I am not a person of color, so my experience in America is extremely different than people of color, and for the females in this room as well, because we also we have a lot of issues with gender equality and issues in this country as well. So we're moving forward. All of that is to say, echoing my colleagues, we have to have a work session as soon as possible, and I know the sheriff has been willing to do this. Talk to the undersheriff. I don't know what's been happening over the last month, that people don't want to have this public conversation, because we need to have the facts. The sheriff, like it or not, is an independently elected person and can do a lot without us. But having us in a room, he has been willing to do that. We must do that. We must be able to, and like it or not, I wouldn't say we bashed David Allen, we simply cross-examined him. And some of us are trained cross-examiners. So I think we can have the opportunity to cross-examine the sheriff on what's really happening or not, and what are these illegal things that people are being detained for or not, because there's a lot of illegal things right now on my car that I'm sure the sheriff's not going to pull me over because my passenger side red thing, take the fifth, my attorney's telling me, but you know, I could be pulled over for that, but they're going to see a white guy, I got long hair, they might pull me over. But that we got to get to the root of this, and then we must speak the truth up to the top, because it was bad in Obama, it's bad under Trump, so this is not a partisan issue. Immigration is, and who's going to pick our apples? Who's going to pick our blueberries? I can tell you the white children of West Michigan won't be doing that unless their parents own that farm. So, and that's what we used to do a generation ago. You know, I had to go to my uncle's house and pick apples, and I'll leave it at that. So let's get there. Let's get in front of the sheriff in a public session ASAP. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Commissioner Hennessy.
There have been a couple of references to the health, and the new epidemiologist did have a session on the west side last week, 2 sessions. Talking to residents, talking to people from the city about the complaint over there, the perception that there might be increased incidences of cancer that are related to having been brought up by the what is now that Butterworth dump super site. And I'm really pleased that, you know, the health department has, you know, picked up on it. It came out through the internet. They picked up on it. The sessions were held. We had an EPA official come from Chicago. We had DEQ from Lansing, and it was there weren't as many residents there as I would have liked, or anybody would have liked. But you know, it is going. There's an online form, survey form that can be filled out, and then there are paper forms that are also available as they begin this examination. Is this perception or is this real? And I'm very pleased that we did add an epidemiologist to look at emerging issues. And I am glad, too, that we were able to hear the testimony of everyone who wanted to address us today. And I appreciate the order and appreciate hearing the stories, the comments. They were not repetitive. They're very heartfelt, and I'm sure we will continue discussion.
Thank you. Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. So I was a voice that was perhaps more vocal in my criticism of how the public comment went at the last meeting. And in my responses, I included an invitation for these folks, for you to come back and to be as frequent in your presentation, to be as loud and vociferous as you wish to be, as long as we didn't interfere with the rights of others. And today you didn't disappoint me. You were loud, you were vociferous, and presented a compelling story. The fact of human suffering is not complex. It's pervasive, it's visceral, it seems to be everywhere. As I say, the response to it and the causes for that are rarely simple. They are almost always complex. And a quick response to perhaps the loudest voice or the immediate voice, in my judgment, is never the right response. And that's why I think more analysis, more thinking, more consideration, because this is not an issue that this commission is generally held responsible for, is in line and in order before there's any kind of response. Now, do we take any response at all? Do we do anything? That could be considered. Do we do it individually? Do it as a group? That can be considered. All I would acknowledge at this point is that you've presented your case. You've presented it in a way that we've asked you to present it, and I thank you for that.
Do I see a hand over there? No. Okay. Over here. Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. I said I would respond at the appropriate time. I think now's the appropriate time. I think a couple things that I would like to say. One is with some experience with the U.S. immigration system with a couple of my sons. I think we all would say that we want legal immigration to be more efficient, more accessible, because it really can be a painful and difficult process. And so I think that's something we should all be for, and we should all actually work towards. I think another thing that should be said is that if there are incidences in ICE or other organizations where people in a position of authority are using that to abuse or rape people, that we should condemn that as loudly and clearly and as often as we possibly can. That is not acceptable. It's not what our country should be. And I think we should all support both of those steps and work towards them. I do appreciate the comments of everyone. This isn't an issue, the ICE contract here in Kent County, that was on my radar at all, and now it is. And so I appreciate you all coming and raising this up as an issue to look at. I especially appreciate Commissioner Womack, his willingness to stand up. I do think that we should all find a way to have a more active, free-flowing dialogue that really gets to the bottom. I would echo everybody's sentiments there. Unlike Commissioner Womack, I will not sign the poster board, and the reason is I don't think this is that the right path is a simple on-off switch. Like Commissioner Steck said, like that's not often the most effective, and the goals of everyone are not often met by just an on-off choice. So with some further dialogue and discussion, I'd love to be part of that, and I think that we can move towards something that does help alleviate the suffering in the community. As soon as possible. I would support as soon as possible.
We will answer your question.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to finish real shortly with, I know when our sheriff signed the ICE contract, he could not foresee that this day would come, or some of the things they would do nationally. So when I brought it up, it's never to bash the sheriff, but it's like, if he's part of Kent County, I'm part of Kent County, then we're on the same team, and I refuse to let a teammate keep bumping his head. To me, the publicity that it's bringing is not worth it. I like to add there are other counties that are opted out against the ICE situation for this time, and they're not suffering because they're not participating. So we don't always have to work with other law enforcement the same way. And I agree with Coleman when he said, you know, that it wasn't on his radar, but he's glad that you came because now it's on his radar. And that's kind of how I like to address the sheriff. I still think Sheriff Stelman is going to be remembered as the best sheriff we ever had, and when he retires, it's going to be a hard act to follow. But we have to put it on the sheriff's radar that this is as serious as it gets. People who may say signing that is nothing, that I could understand that coming from different perspectives, but me, I was born a poor man. So the first thing I had was my voice. That's all I had, was a mind to learn, get educated, and a voice. And before I became a commissioner, I was just out there with the protesters, outside yelling, screaming, because nobody could hear me. And I kept screaming until I could make some changes. I understand that signing that today is very important to me because somebody asked me to sign it if I agree that babies shouldn't be ripped apart. So I signed it because I totally agree. And I do want to say that I know that that's just ornamental. I know that's just the beginning, but I'm not only willing to sign for human rights, I'm willing to die for human rights. Thank you.
I see no other miscellaneous, so I'll call on Commissioner Ponstein to adjourn.
How many more deportations will we get?
Thank you, Chair Salpel. I move to adjourn subsequent to the call of the chair to Thursday, August 23rd, 2018 at 8:30 a.m. for an official meeting.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.